Hi, my name is AMIRUL bin OTHMAN. So I'm going to start my presentation about introduction of Italy. Italy is one of the European nations that has been located in the southern area. This region originates from the Italian peninsula and a number of islands including Sicily and Sardinia. It is also neighboring to San Marino, France, Switzerland and Austria. This country is strategically positioned to dominate the central Mediterranean and close to the Western Europe, which is across the Adriatic Sea. Italy has a diverse industrial sector that has been split between a private company dominated, which is developed industrial on the north, and a less developed welfare dependent on the rural south. Due to its heavy reliance on Russian gas imports, Italy is one of the non-Eastern Euro area countries most sensitive to the war in Ukraine. The impact caused by increasing energy price will not sufficiently offset by Italian government funding or an expansionary fiscal policy. In Italy, the financial system is controlled by the Bank of Italy, also known as Banca d'Italia, and a part of the European system of the central banks. The institution was founded in 1893 as a result of the merger of three significant Italian banks after the Banca Romana scandal. From 1928 onward, it was run by a government appointed by an internal panel of managers under order from the President of the Italian Republic. The governance term lasted for 7 years. In 1998, after the European Central Bank took the responsibility for monetary and exchange rate policy, the bank now execute decision, creates euro banknotes and remove and destroy worn-out currency within the European institution framework. Thus, banking and financial monitoring have served as the main duties. The goal is to guarantee system stability, effectiveness, commitment to rules and regulation. The bank achieved this goal by legislation, controls and collaboration with governmental authorities. In 2005, the bank had been involved with the takeover scandals by making laws. The executive antitrust authority in the credit sector and must be shared with the Italian competition authority.
Next, I will talk about the issue or problems that faced by the Italian government.
The European Union has demonstrated a lack of financial restraint over the previous decades, while experiencing an expansion in expenditure, insufficient revenue, large deficit, and other issues. In 2011, the faulty structure of the sovereign debt crisis, which should be loosened, caused Italy experience a political and economic crisis. The enduring structural issues that have troubled the Italian economy and made it susceptible to the outside shock were the fundamental reason.
Silvio Berlusconi was the Prime Minister of Italy for 3 terms and effectively controlled Italian politics for a period of 17 years. Unfortunately, while Italy is under his administration, the Italian government has unsuccessfully dealt with the major economic issue of rising debt and weak productivity development growth. Instead, a large list of legal matters regarding his personal life more prominently defined his presidency. He has been charged with embezzlement, false accounting, tax fraud, and bribery.
The cabinet presided over by Silvio Berlusconi was replaced on November 16, 2011 by Mario Monti. He is a former member of the European Commission. He provided an objective political perspective to disorderly Italian governmental structure in place. According to Bosco and McDonald, the political leadership shift that occurred in Italy in 2011 as a result of the state of emergency rather than regular political dynamics is the most obvious manifestation of the country's economic and political crisis. Although Italy had recently run larger budget deficits and borrowed money at far higher interest rates, the event of 2011 compelled an unprecedented action, such as the change of government.
Economic risk is one of the issues plaguing the Italian country. Fundamentally, Italy's economy suffers from three serious flaws, which is a high debt to GDP ratio, rising and unstable debt servicing expenses, and sluggish growth. Italy has enormous debts reaching 1.9 trillion euro. Italy has the second highest debt to GDP ratio in the Eurozone, which is at 121%, which indicates that Italy had borrowed 1.21 times as much as its economy generates for each year. This will be significantly more difficult for Italy to raise the necessary government income to pay off its debt if they are unable to increase their economic growth rates. Furthermore, due to the limitation imposed by the European Monetary Union, Italy will be unable to strategically lower its currency in order to improve its industry and strengthen its competitiveness on a global scale.
Next, let's proceed with how financial institutions in Italy react to the issue. According to the issue that happened, there are a few well-planned strategies provided by central banks to increase efficiency to overcome the consequences and avoid more conflict occurring in the financial sector. The outbreak of the pandemic has caused the Italian firm to be aided by the bank. After that, bank lending greatly increased and reached industry and businesses of all kinds, including the smallest one, on early phase. Due to the extraordinary number of applications from businesses of all kinds and the numerous adjustments made to the guarantee schemes, the state's ability to distribute loans that were officially guaranteed immediately delayed. The participants from the banks of Italy and coordinated by the Ministry of Economy and Finance managed to control the process. More than a million proposals from banks for guarantees on loans to business, mostly small and medium enterprise, about 80 billion euro were received by the Central Guarantee Fund. These have added to the monetary policy action taken by the European Central Bank Governing Council, such as imposition of more friendly terms on the third series of targeted long-term refinancing operation. The debt monetary policy was implemented in a systematic, efficient and appropriate manner. Customers are protected by the bank by ensuring the financial institution conduct operation fairly and transparently, by enhancing the capabilities protecting customers in order to raise the nation level of financial literacy. The increase in financial activity may be slightly stronger than the base case forecast suggested by the central bank's monetary and fiscal policy to boost the demand. The prospect for growth continue to be troubled by large risks, forcing clarity in the direction of policy also in the medium term. Most have assumed that the virus would spread more quickly on worldwide scale. High cautious saving will be done if this situation is still maintained. Through the governor's involvement in the ECB Governance Council, the Bank of Italy participates in decisions regarding the Euro system monetary policy. The expertise at the Bank of Italy contributes significantly to the discussion and decision making in the technical committees and working groups of the Council and the Euro system through their economic analysis. Crisis started in 2011 until 2012. Because of country GDP issue and risk aversion, bank lending has been drastically cut, which has resulted in partial credit troubles for the Italian economy. The economy saw a significant downturn due to the quasi-credit crunch. The monopoly of banks in financing the Italian economy and the largely undeveloped bonds and equity capital market led to the crisis raising credit issue. The reduction in bank credit has greater impact to reduce their investment plan and force consumers to reduce spending, which might lead to the negative impact of the shock on the nation economy. As an action, the exposure of public investors to junior and senior bank bonds is a key factor in the Italian banking action to overcome the crisis. As of the third quarter of 2015, Italian savers has approximately 29 billion euros in subordinate bank bonds. In addition, Italian banks were able to obtain economic capital during the financial crisis by offering junior bonds to individual investors. 80% of the Italian bonds were sold to the individual investors. By offering risky bonds at relatively low rates, banks are taking advantage of the information deficit with reference to their investor.
Next, we go to main causes of problem faced by Central Bank of Italy. With banks that successfully managed to reduce the stress of the 2018 financial crisis and a population that has demonstrated wise saving in recent years, Italy has maintained its reputation as a major manufacturing nation. Italy wasn't really under the spotlight until July 2011, when Italian bond yields start to soar from 5% to 7% by year's end. Main causes of problem faced by the Central Bank of Italy is a high debt to GDP ratio at 121%. Italy debt to GDP ratio is currently the second highest in the Eurozone. This indicates that Italy borrows 1.21 times as much as its economy generates each year. Next, investors were beginning to lose faith in Italy's capacity to make its debt payment. This is due to the sovereign bond market going from being relatively stable to being in full-blown crisis when the Italian bond yield rose sharply. Due to the significant increase in risk to their portfolios, investors start to keep away from Italian bonds at this point. Therefore, it became important to offer Italian bonds at lower price in order to find buyers as investors began to dump them into a market where demand was obviously declining. Next, the yield increased as the price of the existing used bonds decreased while the interest rate remained the same. This forced the Bank of Italy to raise interest rates on newly issued bonds in order to compete with the return that investors could get from buying used bonds. On August 7, 2011, the European Central Bank announced that it will buy Italian bonds in an effort to lower its borrowing costs. Next is tax evasion. Italian government has turned blind eye to tax evasion. In Italy, the focus of tax evasion is concentrated around the wealthiest Italian individual. Italian tax authorities claim that Italy lost an estimate 150 billion a year in undeclared revenues. In 2011, the Italian Statistics Agency reported that 1 over 4 Italian citizens did not report any taxable income. Of those citizens, it is estimated that 3 million own at least 3 homes. According to Italian National News Program, there are 2.5 million luxury cars owned in Italy, yet less than 2% of the 41 million Italian taxpayer report income. The summation of this origin statistic suggests that tax evasion is not only an enormous fiscal issue in Italy, but it is also deeply ingrained in the Italian culture.
In terms of strategy from Central Bank for Italy, they provide few ways to against the financial crisis occurred in 2011, which strategy to gain more revenue as they were indebted to debt obligation. First, they create public budget by the fund was coming from cut cost spending and increases of tax with a span of 3-year plan, which from 3-year span there will be 30 billion euro which to pay the debt and investment in their country growth enhancement. Second, they will create new tax by the name of luxury tax, which was introduced for cars, boats and private aircraft. Also, they will increase the taxation rate from 21% to 23% to generate more countries' revenue. Lastly, they will introduce reform into new pension scheme from benefits pension scheme to contribution pension scheme, which is raise the retirement age and provide incentive for whom agree to this new reform.
Next, we go to the recommendation. There are 3 recommendations that our group proposed. The first one is we propose that
central bank need to implement monetary policy. It can control money that is available in an economy. By doing this, it can achieve low and stable inflation. Economy began to improve and started to boost up. As a result, central banks can manage and regulate their own exposure toward the risk. For the second recommendation from our group is, we propose that the central bank need to increase liquid saving, or other term, increase cash. Propose budgeting on the expenses, spending less on the unbeneficial things. Not advisable for the central bank to invest in equity, as it is a risky investment. Other than that, they should reduce the minister's enormous allowance so that they can collect extra money in reserve, which would be very useful during the crisis. For the last recommendation is, we propose that they should restructure the financial management to know if there is any corruption or not. They must doing a full audit to make sure the financial statement show a true and a fair view. Usually, any sensitive information might be revealed to a third party. Basically, financial fraud happen from the insider management. As a result, strict election need to be done to identify the corruptors from the management team. For the conclusion, we identify that many issues that faced by the central bank occur when the financial crisis happen. A good strategy need to be implemented to prevent it from becoming worse. The action taken now can influence the future progression. If not, it will lead to have economic collapse or bankruptcy. Finally, we hope that the central bank will identify the most suitable solution in coping with the financial crisis.